I, female 24, have been NC with my sister Kelsey, female 26, for the last 6 years, as soon as I was able to move out and live by myself. The main reason for that was Kelsey's stereotypical mean girl attitude and her shallow perspective, which made her bully me and my friends for our interests. Yeah, I was and am a little nerdy, and Kelsey was the polar opposite. But I didn't even insult her for being a cheerleader or anything like that. I knew it was stupid to make sweeping statements about her and all her interests, but having the moral high ground certainly didn't make it easier to have her as my sister. We grew up in a small town and everybody knew everybody. Kelsey and I also went to the same high school, and she and her friends were the popular group. That meant when I joined, Kelsey felt embarrassed by my introvertness and nerdiness. Sure, I had a small circle of friends, but they dreaded coming to my house because of how Kelsey went out of her way to verbally and emotionally attack us. My parents were also enablers of this because they too didn't get my interest, and because of that, I guess they thought Kelsey's behavior was just a lash out at me to be normal, which I'm sure they also wanted. My friendships took a hit because being Kelsey, the mean girl sister, came with a lot of baggage. My time in school was also rough because I wasn't the same as my very popular sister. I know this all sounds like stupid teen angst, but it affected me to see my sister become such an active part of making life hell for me. Even after she graduated high school, Kelsey chose to not go to college and instead worked on starting out as a fashion stylist and designer in our small town. For my last couple of years in high school, she still lived with our parents, and I didn't feel any better about her not being in school anymore with me. Instead, there was just a different set of challenges. Since Kelsey didn't have a proper office yet, she would invite her clients to our house, and if I ever interrupted her work, she would berate me and make me feel guilty. But she sat smack in the middle of the living room, making it almost impossible to avoid her. Some of the things she said were, "I can't wait until OP leaves. I can make her room into my office." And, "OP, you don't know what it's like to be a hard worker, so can you just not interrupt the people who are doing something with their lives instead of playing video games and drawing stupid cartoons all day?" These are just two which weirdly stuck with me. Anyhow, this post isn't just to rant about my sister, but to get into the real stuff about whether I was TA. As I mentioned, I dipped from my hometown as soon as I turned 18 and got into a field I love. In all this time, I have seen my sister maybe twice or thrice during family events. I'm not no contact with her because I know that she's just a terrible person in general, and it's not worth my time to deal with the extra shit stirring that would happen if I block her or something like that. I mean, I know what she's up to through my parents. She makes decent bank work for D-list celebs and is recently engaged, yada yada. I text her on birthdays and congratulated her on her engagement, but usually get one-word replies back from her at best. Whatever it is, it's a comfortable, uncomfortable dynamic, and I don't care since she lives so far away. However, Kelsey recently reached out to me and went on a long-winded kind of narcissistic apology that can be summed up as, "I was in a weird place and took it out on you. I need you to forgive me and I will be friends with you from now on." I was confused by this sudden change and asked her what happened. After a bit of back and forth, she caved and admitted that her fiancé Josh was severely bullied as a kid and knew of her past behavior, but not all of it. She had fallen in love with him and chased him for a relationship, but he wasn't ready to get married until he knew that she had made amends with all the people she had hurt. Until now, Kelsey had reached out to a few people she hadn't affected that badly and eked out a gesture of forgiveness. But for the most part, she didn't apologize to the people she terrorized. She also hadn't told Josh about our troubled teen years and how she had screwed me over. I'm pretty blunt, and Kelsey thought that I would let something slip in front of Josh, and she couldn't afford that. Apparently, she had a conversation with my parents about her wedding, and it dawned on her that she would have to invite me. And if I told Josh about how she used to be the exact kind of person he used to hate, her relationship would collapse. She ended the call by asking me to forgive her and begging me to give her a second chance. I asked her if I could have some time to myself and then I could let her know, and she seemed to accept that. Now I'm kind of conflicted. I feel like it's kind of scummy for Kelsey to only apologize to me once her relationship was on the line. And I also feel like she's only asking me because she thinks it would be easier to eke an apology out since we're family. She's just apologizing to me on the condition that I don't tell her fiancé what a massive bully she used to be. On the other hand, if I did tell Josh the truth, it would definitely lead to a lot of drama. It would split opinions, create trouble, and ruin whatever interaction I had left with my family. Should I use this opportunity to end her relationship and make her feel some pain for what she has done? WIBTA if I don't forgive her and reveal everything? Update 1. Okay, the time to think about my choice has kind of been taken away from me, LOL. My mom called me and invited me to come back to our hometown for Kelsey's engagement party. I don't know whether Kelsey knows I'm coming, but I wouldn't be comfortable telling my mom about everything that's gone down so far. Whether Kelsey knew or not was answered for me when I got a text from her begging me once again to not bring up anything about my beef with her. Now I have to go and visit while still undecided about what I'm going to do. I've been in touch with one of my old childhood friends, Mark. He was also unfortunately bullied by Kelsey as well, in his case for being fat. And he thinks I should tell Josh. However, I think I'll go over and see if Kelsey's behavior has genuinely changed before I say anything. Because of my lack of contact with her, I don't know if she's a different person now, or whether she's just managed to hide her toxic side from Josh all this time. Update 2. After being back home for a few weeks, I quickly realized that, yeah, Kelsey's still the same terrible person. Her business caters to pretty privileged people, and she even has some products that are straight up pyramid schemes that she forces onto her customers. Just from going out with her for a few days, I found her to be the same narcissistic, entitled person who gets off on putting other people down. The way she talks to waiters, even her attitude and snarky comments about strangers is just incredibly off-putting to someone who knew how she was in the past. Josh is a wonderful person. I don't know how badly he was impacted as a kid, but it's clear that he's made it his life mission to stop teen bullying. He works in a lot of community outreach programs and even volunteers as part of the youth ministry. A lot of kids just call and text him to rant because they feel safe around him, and it's something that takes effort on his part. I can't think of a more different person than Kelsey, and I didn't understand how he hadn't called out Kelsey for her trashy behavior and attitude. But I found out soon enough. During our first group family meal, Kelsey and Josh were both there, and she was a completely different person. Like a full 180 in terms of her behavior. There was no gossip, no discussion about being better than certain people, and full interest in Josh and how to help people like he was. She was, in front of him, changed from her past behavior. I think I realized that night that I should probably tell him about what kind of person Kelsey is. But I'm still mustering up the courage to follow through. I know it will lead to problems with my sister and my parents who've enabled her behavior. But if they get married and Josh finds out 3 years down the line, I would feel super guilty. I'll write an update after I tell him. Update 3. It's been a week since I told Josh and I'm back home. I mean, I had no choice but to be back home after everything that went down. I had to catch Josh in private and have a conversation with him about how my sister was switching her whole personality when she was with him. And he was initially in denial. I said, "You don't have to accept it, but if you want to ask her or ask other people, you can." He went through some digging by himself and later confronted Kelsey, which caused her to snap at him and say that he was wasting his time by helping people who weren't worth it. Needless to say, they're broken up now and she's blaming me. I was surprised, but my parents stood up for me, despite the fact they never usually bat an eye at her toxicity. Just seeing her lose a good partner because of her unwillingness to change and the complete hatefulness she showed towards me for telling the truth had both mom and dad on my side. I left because it was just getting exhausting to be back home. But my parents said that they were not going to speak to Kelsey unless I get a real apology from her. And she's now single and in hot water with our parents. I don't know if I made the right choice, but Josh did text me later thanking me for revealing who my sister was and opening up about his past. So I do think it was for the best, even if it did turn out messy like I knew it was going to. NTA, people don't change, and your sister proves that. She was simply hoping she could emotionally manipulate you into being a pushover. NTA, but I do get why you had to struggle with telling Josh. Even if it is technically the right thing to do, with people like your sister, the consequences are just exhausting. Next story. I'm from a developing country that was pretty dangerous when I was a kid, but has come a long way in the last 20 years. My wife has watched too many movies and TV shows that show my home country in the worst possible light. My family that still lives there all tend to be in professional fields and work in medical, legal, educational, or agricultural industries. For example, one of my cousins owns several companies that make products from sugarcane waste. He makes more money than I do. My grandmother and mom regularly travel back to visit family. It is safe enough for a middle-aged and an elderly woman to travel around in. I go back all the time too. I like seeing family, but also everything there is so cheap. It's very cost effective for me to take long vacations there. After more than 5 years of dating and 10 years of marriage, my wife has finally agreed to visit with me. The plan was to go for a couple of weeks this summer. 1 week was in my hometown visiting my family, and 1 week in the resort city that dozens of cruise ships stop at every day. Basically, it would be safer than San Francisco. But all she has been doing since she agreed is telling everyone how scared she is to go and how she's only going because I wore her down. I've been putting up with it for over a month. Last weekend, we had her uncle and his family from out of town over for dinner, and her folks joined us. She started going on about how scared she was. Her aunt mentioned that they had visited the resort city on one of their cruises. She had some pictures on her phone and was showing them off. My wife still wouldn't drop how dangerous it is there and how scared she is. Yesterday, I called my family and apologized for not being able to see them this year. I also canceled our reservation at the 5-star hotel we were going to stay at. Instead, I got us a very nice hotel in New York, and I got some tickets for 2 shows on Broadway. Because of the price difference between the 2 vacations, we are only going for a week. I told her about it, and now she's pissed at me for canceling the hotel and just taking her to New York. She has been telling all the people at the school where she works how she is so brave for going to a third world country. How she was basically going to be staying in a hut. We were going to be staying with my uncle. He has servants. The hotel was nicer than any place we have stayed since our honeymoon. I honestly thought I was doing the right thing. All she has done is complain and tell everyone how scared she is. I'm scared of heights. If she had gotten me skydiving lessons as a gift after I agreed to try it, I would not be surprised if she canceled them if all I did was complain to anyone who would listen. Edit. She told me every day for the last 2 months she didn't want to go. Should I have called her a liar? I just decided that she meant what she was telling me and everyone else, that she really did not want to go. NTA, from the way you describe it, it sounds like one of the cities you were going to was Cartagena, Colombia. I'm from Colombia and visit there all the time. That city is beautiful and has an amazing tourist reputation. Most of the big cities are safe as long as you avoid certain areas. The exact same as most cities in America. There are places in Baltimore, New Orleans, and Oakland that I won't go near. It's too bad she busted your balls so much you canceled your trip. Some of the hotels in the old city of Cartagena were amazing. Try again, though. It is a beautiful country and deserves to shed its reputation. She will love it. Why are you married to someone who is so disrespectful of your home country? And, I can only assume, your culture. First of all, you're telling me that you've been together for 15 years and she's never come with you to visit your family? Second of all, it's honestly coming off as racist on her part. Insisting the country is dangerous, seeing it as some caricature, and dismissing your actual experiences? Saying she's brave for going to a third world country? Yikes. On your part, you could have and should have communicated a decision that impacts you both. You're not the bigger a-hole, but you have bigger relationship problems than this trip. ESH. Sorry to say, ESH, mostly her, but also you a bit. Not for being mad at her ridiculous carry-on, which is insulting and ignorant and all that, but for not speaking to her first and cancelling the trip before telling her. I get why you did it, but it hasn't achieved anything except venting your, understandable, anger. Although why you've spent 15 years with someone who is so disrespectful about where you're from and your family, I do not know. Next story. Ever since I, 25, female, could remember, my mom has always shown favoritism to my brother, 21, male, and treated us differently. She basically babied the shit out of him all my life. She'd do everything for him, cook, clean up after him. Whatever he wanted, she'd get for him, etc. If my brother and I got into a fight, she'd almost always take his side over mine. If my brother did something wrong, she'd always drag me into the situation and discipline me too for whatever reason. If I got so angry with my brother because growing up he was a little shit, and I started yelling at him, she'd get mad at me for yelling at him and not the action he did to make me upset. If my brother asked me something and I said no, she'd get mad at me for saying no. When I was 18, she started charging me rent. My brother's 21 and lives with her rent-free. When I was 18, I started working at my dad's business. Parents are divorced. And ever since then, the treatment from my mom got worse. She was always short with me and made passive-aggressive comments all the time to me and just clearly didn't want to see me succeed. When I was 20, I moved out of my mom's and went to stay with my dad, which extremely offended her, and the relationship was never the same. We had very low contact. Fast forward to today, I pretty much run my dad's business. Dad is semi-retired and travels between my country and his home country every month. I make good money here at the business, own my own condo, have a new car I paid for myself, and am just overall doing good. Ever since I can remember, my mom has had financial issues. She's always lived check to check and can't save money. The past few months, my mom has been contacting me more. Last week, she asked if we can have a serious conversation. She explained to me that she can see that I'm doing well for myself and she needs money. She is in a lot of debt and possibly could lose her house. She said she asked my dad for money and he refused. I asked her why she doesn't ask her husband. She's remarried, but they don't live together because she refuses to let him move in. Whole other story. She started going off on me, saying that's her business and she's asking me, not him. I said, no, you treat me like a POS growing up, barely contact me, and now you want me to give you money? She said, after all the things she did for me growing up, this is the least I could do for her. She's been telling my other family members how I said no, and they've been up my ass messaging and calling me saying it's the right thing to do and to have some compassion. Even my brother's been telling me how that's so cold that I refuse to help her because financially I'm in a good place. I feel like shit because my mom could possibly lose her house, but I feel like that's not my responsibility and I'm being taken advantage of if I say yes. AITA? Edit. Thanks for the silver, guys. NTA, I have no idea why anyone thinks they're entitled to your money. Tell all the relatives that are messaging and calling you about being a bad kid. Thanks. I'm so happy you're willing to help your mom financially because it's obvious to you that they truly understand the situation your mother is in and you're just a stupid kid who couldn't possibly understand. When your family texts you, say, "You have given me a lot to think about. Thank you for reaching out and giving my mom money. She'll be so happy to hear about your support." When they freak out, say, "Wait, you're not giving my mom money? Then why are you reaching out? It's a bit weird to tell someone to give money to family when you are not giving money to family. Regardless, there's no need to worry. I totally get no one is entitled to your money. Thank you for understanding." Next story. I'm the breadwinner in our home. My wife has the much tougher job of being a stay-at-home mom and wrangling our offspring. She works hard to make sure we have everything we need. Our budget is pretty simple. We put away about 15% of my earnings every month. Then we pay all the bills. Whatever is left, we split and we can use it however we want. I like to use mine to work on my hobbies or treat us to a night out. I pay for the babysitter and whatever activity we do that night. She uses hers to go to a spa or to buy herself pretty things that make her happy. Every once in a while, she will ask if she can send money to her family. Not because her family's homeless or anything. They just earn less than we do. In November, she asked if we could give her brother $500. He wanted to get his kids a PS5 for Christmas. I think that was the last straw. I told her that we could, but it would be the last time that I contributed money to give away to people who just asked her for it. December went fine, but then in January, one of her friends had car problems and needed to rent a car to run errands and drive her kids around. My wife gave her money. When she told me about it, I said I was proud of her for sticking to our agreement that any money she decided to give away would come from her fund money and not ours. She looked really sour and asked if I was really not going to help her pay for her spa day with her friends. I said yes because I had spent my money on a new drone already. She asked if we could take money from our savings account to pay. I said no because that is for emergencies and household expenses. She's mad at me for not helping her friend. I pointed out that she could have kept her money and driven her friend around on errands and to pick up her kids. She said I was being a jerk and slammed the door. For the record, my kids and I are still playing games on our PS4 and Switch. She gives away our money to be a big shot. I don't have that need. NTA, wife is spending money with no input from her partner. That's fine. But she should only be doing that with her own money. She does not get to unilaterally decide what to do with family's money. That needs a conversation and agreement first, unless a genuine emergency, of course. If she's upset with the way she spent her money, she has the ability to control that. OP is not interfering. NTA, your wife cannot make unilateral financial decisions, especially if they aren't for any emergency, any more than you can. If she wants to give money away to friends and family without questions asked, it's only logical that she uses her own money, the one she doesn't have to answer anyone for. She's throwing a tantrum because she didn't think you'd stick to the agreement. Let her. However, this will snowball if you guys keep the bad communication going. You issuing an ultimatum and her throwing tantrums aren't solving the problem. You need to have a calm and deep conversation about your views on money, expenses, and giveaways. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.